So how do we lead businesses consciously? I'm going to argue today that the answer to this question has great implications not only for how we run our businesses, but also how we live our lives and what possible future humanity can expect. But it all starts with a very, very simple question. Just let's do a thought experiment. Imagine that we meet outside and we're just saying hello to one another, and I ask you, what's your job? So take just 1 second, say, what would be your obvious answer? How would you respond to me if I say, what's your job? And keep that in mind. Now, this very simple question, I'm going to claim it's a Zen koan. It's not as maybe mysterious as what's the sound of one hand clapping, but I'm going to argue that it's very tricky to answer the question, what's your job, correctly. In fact, I am so sure that it's tricky that I'm going to have Zen meet sports betting. I'm going to make a bet with you. I'm going to bet, let's just say, $10 with each one of you, that in 3 minutes, you change your mind. How about that? Nothing up my sleeve. In 3 minutes, if I ask you again, what's your job? You're not going to tell me the same thing you just thought when I said, imagine we meet outside and I ask you, what's your job? How many of you would take that bet? How many of you would say, I know what my job is and you're not going to change my mind in 3 minutes? About maybe 2% of you? I mean, is that the confidence you have in your own opinion about your job? Like, oh my God, this is... Okay, typically when I say this to normal people in business, everybody raises their hand. So it's okay. So you're a little more conscious and you know there's something that's not so obvious about this question. But okay, so we're not going to bet then. But let's keep the sports metaphor, and I'll use soccer. I'm from Argentina, so I have to use soccer. Imagine you're a defensive player, and I ask you, what's your job? What would be your answer? Somebody knows what the answer is, but most people, what would you say? Stop the goals. That's what a goalie does. That's what every defensive player thinks that they have to do. If you're an offensive player, you score. That's what people say all the time. So my job is what I'm trying to do. That's my job. Now, what's the goal of the team? To win. What's the job then of every member of the team? To help the team win. Now, this is stunningly shocking for most people because they really think that the job of the water boy is to bring water. That's not the job of the water boy. What's the job of the water boy? To win, to help the team win. Everybody in the team has the same job. The first and foremost, the most important job is to help the team win. You agree with this? Okay, so now let's go back to business. In soccer, we're trying to win a cup. In business, we're trying to do something different. But if I ask any programmer at LinkedIn, what's your job? What do you imagine the programmer would tell me? To program, to code. So you're a code head, you code. That's what you do. If you're a salesperson, what's your job? To sell. Now, what's the job of any, let's just say, a for-profit company? How does a for-profit company win, at least in our economy? To make money today and in the future. That's the job, economic value added. So again, I want to claim that mindfulness is not separate from economic science. It cannot be. There's only one world. So it cannot be that economics and mindfulness don't agree. They have to agree. So we are trying to create economic value for the organization and for society. In the case of LinkedIn, however, and any particular company, the creation of economic value is not the question. That's how you win. The question is, how are you going to create economic value? And every company has a mission that it's trying to accomplish. So the purpose or the mission is the way in which a company is trying to add economic value. So everybody wants to make money today and in the future. We have to create value, but the question is how. In the case of LinkedIn, our mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So if I ask, what is the job of every single person at LinkedIn? How should everybody answer? Contribute to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful, and do it in a profitable way. That's what we do. We want to do it in an efficient way. We want to do it in an economically intelligent way, but this is what we're there to do. And whether you're in sales, or you're a programmer, or you're in finance, or you're in HR, or you're in engineering, it doesn't matter. It's all of us have the same job. We have different roles, but your role is not your job. Your role is different than your job. And the problem is that most of us unconsciously identify our roles with our jobs. We think that that's what we're there to do. We're there to do our roles, and that is not true. We're there to do our jobs, and our job is to contribute to making the team win. Now, it's about maybe 4 minutes. What was your job again? How many of you had said, my job is to contribute to my company accomplishing its mission with effectiveness and integrity? That's not what people normally answer. Now, I'll give you the bet. I mean, there's maybe a few people here, but there's a lot more people who are not here. So you can go out and make a ton of money just betting with people. Yeah. I bet that in 30 seconds, I'll make you change your opinion of what your job is. And just ask them, what's the job of the goalie? It's a simple question. I mean, you don't have to explain all this. What's the job of the goalie? They'll say to stop the goals. Say, no, you're wrong. I want to bet? I'll bet you $100 and that the job of the goalie is not to stop goals. And you'll win, because they'll recognize that the true job of the goalie is to help the team win, not to stop the goals. They help the team win by, most of the time, stopping goals. But sometimes goalies have tied games by going forward and jumping and scoring a goal in the last minute. That has happened before. So now comes the bad news, and that's that doing your job may be hazardous to your career. And this is really where the Zen koan becomes tricky, because this will destroy the world. If we are not conscious about this, if we don't learn how to solve this problem, we are in for a lot of trouble. Now, there are two theories in economics that say exactly the opposite thing. And there's no integrated theory. And these two theories are creating such stress that they are literally destroying the world of organizations. And I guarantee if you work in a successful company and your company dies, goes bankrupt, it will be because of this problem. This is the #1 killer of successful organizations. Unsuccessful organizations die for many reasons, but all successful organizations that stop being successful do so for the same reason. And the reason is because of the stress of these two theories in economics and the inability of the leaders of the company, and therefore everybody else in the company, to resolve this dilemma. So when we work unconsciously, we are unable to realize the full potential of an organization. One theory is the theory of nonlinear optimization. And this theory says, if you want to do the best for the whole, you can't do the best for any part. So if you want the team to play as best as possible, you can't have any part of the team optimize whatever they're doing. So if you're playing defense, you have to subordinate the objective of the defense to the objective of the team, which is to win. So sometimes the defense has to take more risk in order to allow the team to win. And the same with the offense. So nonlinear optimization tells you, don't do the best for the whole. For the part, do the best for the whole. And then you have another theory, which is the theory of incentives. And the theory of incentives says that if you want to incentivize people, you have to pay them for what they do. So you have to condition their incentives to the performance of their subsystem. So one theory of economics says, do the best for the whole. And another theory says, just reward people for doing the best for their part. Just imagine what that creates. If you work in a company, I'm sure you've experienced this, that people try to do the best for their organization, but not for the large organization as a whole. This destroys organizations. So just let's go back to the soccer team. If you're a defensive player, what's your KPI, your key performance indicator, is to prevent goals. What would you, if you're offense, you want to score. So if you're a defense, where would you look better, winning 5-4 or losing 0-1? I'll make it easy for you. You look better losing 0-1 because you only allow one goal. If you're offense, you want to win 1-0 or you want to lose 4-5. You look better losing 4-5. Why? Because the idiots of the defense allowed 5 goals, but you scored 4. So you're actually looking pretty good. This is the problem. If you want cooperation, you're going to lose accountability. And if you want accountability, you're going to lose cooperation. When you have cooperation, you're going to get free riders because you lose accountability. And when you privilege accountability, you're going to get silos because you're going to lose cooperation. There's no way you can avoid the problems of moral hazard and adverse selection if you have cooperation, which means people are going to do the wrong thing. And there's no way you're going to have everybody playing together if you have strong accountability. No way to solve this. Really, there's no way. So what the hell do you do? There's an old Jewish saying that says, whenever you're given two equally bad alternatives, choose the third. So we're going to choose the third, because this literally, it's crazy. There's no way to solve this problem. I mean, I tried for 20 years to solve the problem, and I mean, I didn't even give up. It's just, it was obvious mathematically, it can be proved that there's no solution to this problem. So what do? Well, you have to look for a solution somewhere else. And it's not in the realm of compliance, where you give incentives, but it's in the realm of commitment. So I'm going to say that the hardest problem in economics has a spiritual solution. The hardest problem, because it's logical. These computers that are self-interested would create the same organizational problem. The hardest logical, mathematical problem has a spiritual solution. What do you mean by this? Is that leaders offer their people a trade. And the trade they offer is, I want your enthusiasm, entheos. I want your energy. I want your support for the goal. And what I'm going to give you is agape. I'm going to give you the kind of love that is going to support your growth and your well-being. This kind of trade is different than any other material incentive. There are reasons in economics that I could explain to you why this is so, but essentially it's because these goods are non-exclusive. They're non-rivalrous in consumption, as we say. So you being enthusiastic doesn't take anything away from me being enthusiastic. And so the typical constraints in economics of a budget that either you get or I get are broken by choosing goods that are not rivalrous in their consumption. How do leaders do this? Well, the first thing is they set a purpose that is very noble, that people feel empowered by this purpose. They follow ethical principles. Every human being wants to be good. We all have this inherent ethical desire to be at peace with ourselves, to feel that we are right. And we all want to be in community. So leaders, purpose, principles, and people. These are three things that aware leaders do to break this illusion that we are here only to maximize our own self-interest in the unconscious way. This is a higher level of self-interest. This doesn't mean give away your self-interest. It actually expands self-interest to include the full dimension of the human being. This creates a force field, literally a force field that organizes people in a way that is not nonlinear. So it's very different when you organize particles with a magnetic field than when you try to align them one by one with your fingers. That's what happens in an organization with a conscious leader. And as Csikszentmihalyi said, he's famous, the author of Flow, and many books about that. If a leader demonstrates that his purpose is noble, that the work will enable people to connect with something larger and more permanent than their material existence, people will give the best of themselves to the enterprise. Now, this sounds beautiful. This is the notion of purpose. But there's a problem with this. To do this, a leader has to break the last illusion. And this is another unconscious thing that we all have about leadership, is that a leader has no followers. A true leader has no followers. I don't know if you ever heard this, but every time I read a book, it's like the leader and the followers. A true leader has no followers. If you look at this is Usain Bolt. Are people following Usain Bolt? No. It looks like that, no? This is a mirage. It looks like they're following him. But what are they doing? They're all running to the goal. Usain Bolt is the one that's fastest to the goal. Well, it's the same with the purpose. The leader is not saying people, the good leader is not telling people, follow me. A good leader is the one that's ahead because he's closer to the purpose. But he's telling people, come follow what I love. Don't follow me. Follow the purpose that inspires me. So a good leader has to become transparent, has to get rid of this ego drive to say, follow me. There's infinite research about what I'm telling you. I didn't invent this. There's so much research that it's almost obscene. And yet, nobody does it. This is like saying, smoking is bad for you. Who doesn't know smoking is bad for you? Well, why are there millions of people that still smoke? Well, there's a problem here, because telling people that smoking is bad for you doesn't seem to solve the problem. So what the hell do we do? Because we can keep talking about mindful leadership forever, talking about mindful organization, wisdom, compassion, all the things I dearly love, and nothing changes. Well, the question is why? Why doesn't it change? And there's the ultimate unconscious belief we all have that I think makes it absolutely impossible for this to work. And that is the fear that each one of us is a black hole. I'm a black hole. I need to get something from the outside to be happy. I need to fill myself up. And like every black hole, I'll suck everything into me, and it will never be enough. I'll always be dark, black, and empty inside. How do we change this? Well, it's a totally different thing when you live inside out. Instead of living outside in, saying, how much can I grab? You realize who you are, and you live inside out, and you say, how much can I give? How much can I offer? There's an infinite flow of energy coming from my being, and I want to offer it. I want to just shine. Why does a bird sing? I don't know, but I'm sure the bird is not singing to get something. If you ask the bird, what do you sing? It's like, I don't know, that's just who I am. So why do we work? I don't know, it's just who I am. I don't work because I'm a black hole that I'm going to die unless I fill myself in with gratification from the outside. I'm an infinite source of energy that is trying to manifest it in the world according to my dharma. So the answer is really to look inside and to find the truth. Now, this is what nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to have the positive psychology, solve the problem, lead other people, do that. But it starts very simply sitting down and noticing what's the truth inside your heart. Are you a black hole? And if you go into that black hole, what do you find? And when you find that infinite source of energy and you lose your fear, then you can start running your business consciously. Thank you very much. Oh my God, this is okay. Typically, when I say this to normal people in business, everybody raises their hand. So it's okay. So you're a little more conscious, and you know there's something that's not so obvious about this question. But okay, so okay, we're not going to bet then. But let's keep the sports metaphor, and I'll use soccer. How about that? Nothing up my sleeve. In 3 minutes, if I ask you again, what's your job? You're not going to tell me the same thing you just thought when I said, imagine we meet outside and I ask you, what's your job? How many of you would take that bet? How many of you would say, I know what my job is and you're not going to change my mind in 3 minutes? About maybe 2% of you? I mean, is that the confidence you have in your own opinion about your job? What's the sound of one hand clapping? But I'm going to argue that it's very tricky to answer the question, what's your job, correctly. In fact, I am so sure that it's tricky that I'm going to have Zen meet sports betting. I'm going to make a bet with you. I'm going to bet, let's just say, $10 with each one of you, that in 3 minutes you change your mind. It all starts with a very, very simple question. Just let's do a thought experiment. Imagine that we meet outside, and we're just saying hello to one another, and I ask you, what's your job? So take just 1 second and say, what would be your obvious answer? How would you respond to me if I say, what's your job? And keep that in mind. Now, this very simple question, I'm going to claim it's a Zen koan. It's not as maybe mysterious as what's... So how do we lead businesses consciously? I'm going to argue today that the answer to this question has great implications not only for how we run our businesses, but also how we live our lives and what possible future humanity can expect. But